There we go. So we're now recording. So it gives me opportunity now to introduce the recipe and take it from there. Yeah, so today we're making a chicken shawarma. This is a dish that's very popular in the Middle East. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a Palestinian dish per se, but it's something that's eaten throughout the Middle East and particularly the Levantine region. This can be made with chicken, it can be made with lamb, it can be made with vegetables or even fish, really. So today I'm going to talk you through the process, show you how to make the marinade, talk to you about all the trimmings that we'll use for this as well and how to bring it all together. First things first, though, in terms of preparation, we need to get the oven on, please. So if you could turn your ovens on to 220, as high as it goes, degrees Celsius, that's approximately 420 degrees Fahrenheit, or gas mark 7. So that's 220 degrees C, 420 degrees Fahrenheit, gas mark 7. And that'll preheat the oven for us nicely, and then we can get on to getting the dish into there shortly when it's all marinated nicely. Okay. So hopefully you've got all your ingredients measured out and ready to go. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the camera down on the counter here so that you can see what's happening whilst I'm making the marinade. Just before I do that, just to explain, if anyone has any questions at all, please feel free to type those into the chat function, or you can come off mute if you want to ask me a question. That's absolutely fine, but I will recap a number of times to make sure that everyone stays with us and that you all get a nice, delicious dish, hopefully on the table when we get to that point. Okay, so let's just put the camera down here then. So hopefully you can see this bowl. Now, I would suggest you use a slightly larger mixing bowl, but a bit like what someone was saying earlier, I did take the liberty of marinating the chicken earlier just so that I could get that prepped and out of the way so that I'm not worrying about that whilst I'm speaking to you all. However, the marinade I'm going to make here, so we're all going to do it real time. So don't worry about me having already marinated it. I'm going to create the marinade from scratch, and then you can add whatever ingredient it is to that you wish. So just give me a wave. Who's doing the chicken version this evening? Okay, so most people. And who's going with a veggie option? Okay, so I can see a few people shaking, waving their hands at me. So I'll come to you in a little while and see how that's going for you as well. But first things first, let's get this marinade done. Now, the marinade will be exactly the same, regardless of what you're making, same quantities, etc. So first things first, in this bowl then, let's make that marinade. So we want to pop into here approximately 3 tablespoons of olive oil. Now, I'm using this Palestinian oil, zaytun. It's a lovely oil. It means we're supporting the people of Palestine as well. But if you have any other type of oil that you want to use, like a British rapeseed oil or vegetable oil, that's absolutely fine. I can see a few people holding up the different kinds of bottles. Oh, yeah, Jaffa as well. Excellent. So we've got a few different options there. So let's go with about 3 tablespoons of oil. You can measure it out exactly if you wish, but I'm just kind of eyeballing it there a little bit, really. And you may need some more. So don't worry, we can adjust this as we go through. So that's the oil. And again, as I said, I'll recap this. The next thing to go into there is 2 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice. Okay. So you can squeeze that straight in to the oil. So I'm just doing that through my fingers, catching the pips as we go, the seeds, so they don't get caught up in there. And this marinade is really versatile. So if you wanted to double up, triple up, if you ever make this again, hopefully you'll be inspired to make it a number of times, then you can make double, triple the quantity, use what you need to use, and then put the rest in the oven, in the fridge for a few days and use it at another time. Just going to quickly rinse my hands. What I'll do is actually, I'll just pin my screen so that you can see that larger. Just bear with me. Is that better? Can you now see that as your main image? You should now be able to see that as the main image on the screen. Ah, okay, I think I've unpinned it. Right, let me just do that again. Spotlight for everyone. How's that? Is that better, everyone? Can you see that now? Great. So there we go. In there, we've got the oil, 3 tablespoons of oil. We've got approximately 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. We're going to add into this now 2 garlic cloves. Now I've got those already chopped up here. You can crush them, you can chop them, you can mince them, but ideally you want them quite fine if you can. So that's just here. Ignore the coriander, that's for, I'm going to use some of that later. So there's the garlic going in. Okay. And then we're going to add in all the powdered spices. I can see Jules is saying got to leave soon, so I know that you've pre-prepared. That's absolutely fine, no problem at all. So let's go with these different spices then in here. So I've got them all lined up. So first things first, let's go in with 1.5 tablespoons of ground coriander powder, please. So 1.5 tablespoons of ground coriander powder. Nearly at the end of this packet. There we go. That's perfect. We want 1 tablespoon of cumin powder, ground cumin. Okay. That goes in there. A teaspoon of green cardamom powder. Now, I did have an email from someone yesterday or earlier today saying, what if we can't get hold of green cardamom powder? If you live in an area where you've got South Asian supermarkets, fairly easy to get hold of. I appreciate everyone doesn't. So if you even can get fresh green cardamom pods and just break them open, take out the seeds, so maybe 4 or 5 pods, and just use a pestle and mortar just to grind those down a little bit, then that will also do the trick. You might need a few more than 4 or 5, maybe 6 or 7. But we're just going to go 1 level teaspoon of green cardamom powder. And that adds a beautiful fragrance and also a tiny bit of sweetness as well to the dish. Next is some cayenne pepper. Now be careful, this can be quite spicy. So I'll put on the recipe 1 teaspoon. That should be okay for kind of a medium sort of heat with the quantity of food that we're using. So don't be too worried about that. 1 teaspoon. We'd also like to use a couple of teaspoons of paprika. Now I've got smoked paprika, which I believe adds a beautiful flavor, but you can use sweet or just regular paprika. That's absolutely fine. But 2 good teaspoons of that, please, goes in as well, sort of 2 level. And then finally, we want to go in with a couple of teaspoons of salt and about a teaspoon of ground black pepper. And that's your marinade done. So we just want to give that a really good mix now. Now, I just want to show you the consistency that we're looking for with this marinade, because it should be essentially like a thick paste. So it won't be very runny, but it also shouldn't be very dry. And that's where, if you need to add a little bit more oil or some more lemon juice, then you can do that. So let's just give that a really good mix. So you can see it's almost like a thick paste. So it's not running off the spoon. Just give it a really good mix. So you can see now that's more of a paste consistency, all right, than a runny marinade. And that's exactly what we're looking for. Now, if yours is a little bit drier than that, then you can add some more oil or more lemon juice. But that's what we're looking for, everyone. Okay, let me just unpin my screen for a minute. So let me just recap that again. So we had in that bowl 3 tablespoons of oil, 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. We then added 2 cloves of garlic crushed, or minced. And then in terms of the spices, so 1.5 tablespoons of coriander powder, 1 tablespoon of cumin powder, a teaspoon each of green cardamom powder and cayenne pepper or cayenne powder, 2 teaspoons of paprika, 2 teaspoons of salt, and a teaspoon of black pepper powder. And that's basically all ground black pepper, and that's what we've got. All right. So I'd love to see how yours are looking. So if you can show me what your marinade looks like without dropping it all over the camera or dropping your device in that and vice versa, it'd be great to see how that looks. So let's see how they're looking. That looks fantastic, everyone. Really good. Eloise, that looks great. Sarah, you've already got your main in there. Wonderful. Pat, that's looking superb. Chris, great job. Who else have we got on here? Judith, that looks awesome. Great. So from what I can see, Siobhan, yeah, that looks amazing. So from what I can see, and hopefully I pronounced all those names correctly, from what I can see, you've done a great job of that marinade. And so the next thing to do then is to pop your main ingredient into that bowl. So regardless of whether you're doing the chicken or the cauliflower, pop that into that bowl. And I'm going to show you what I've done here previously. So if I just put the camera down again here. So this is the chicken, right? So now I've got here skinless, boneless chicken thighs, all right? And in the recipe, I put skewers were optional, but ideal if you could use them. But don't worry if you haven't. So what I've done here, I've kind of got 2 skewers here, and I've threaded the chicken breast onto it, but really compacted them down, all right? So I'm going to show you how to do one. So that is a big piece of chicken thigh I've got here. So I'm going to thread it in one end and then take the other side and thread that through. And then if you've got little bits like this that are hanging down, then double thread that as well. So also thread that bit. And then what you've got, compact it all together, and you should have 2 skewers with chicken all the way through. Now that you can transfer onto a baking sheet that's already had a little bit of oil, and any excess oil that you've got, just either pour that or tip that over the top of that meat that you've got. Okay, so get that all in, all that marinade, get that all on there. I'll show you how that's looking in a minute. And of course, anytime you're handling chicken, please do make sure you wash your hands thoroughly with soap and hot water. I'll just wash my hands. Okay, so what I was just saying there is please make sure you wash your hands thoroughly with soap and water once you've handled the chicken. And that's what that should look like. All right, so I've got 2 skewers with that chicken really nicely compacted on there. So that's the chicken. And the other version is the cauliflower. So this is a really good tip. And don't worry if you haven't done it like this. So I've got here some cauliflower that I've cut into steaks that are like this. And I've tried to get as much of that marinade in to all the crevices. Now, in how to cut a steak, I can maybe talk you through it another time. But essentially, you're cutting it lengthways in the middle and then cutting about 1 inch thickness steaks like this. Or, like I've got in here, the rest are in florets. Okay? So it really doesn't matter which way you've done it. So I've done it both ways just so that you can see that either way is fine. And then just scatter that into the bottom of that second dish that I've got here. Obviously, I'm showing you both here. Now, some of you may just be doing one or the other. I think someone was saying earlier they might be trying both as well, which is great. So once you've done that then, you can just, on the cauliflower, just drizzle over a tiny little bit of oil. Like so. And these should both cook about the same time. Now, what we're going to do is now I'm going to pop these into the oven, and then I'm going to show you how to do all the other marinades, sorry, all the other salads and things like that. But for now, we can pop both of those in the oven. This is going to take about 35 to 40 minutes. So let's get those straight in. Okay. So that's everything in the oven now. So some of you may just be finishing that off. So don't worry. If anyone's got any questions, feel free to come off mute or type it into the chat function. I can make sure I answer any of your questions. But fingers crossed you've got that all done correctly. So regardless of whether you're doing the cauliflower or the chicken, approximately 35 to 40 minutes. So we'll check it about 6:15 in about 20 minutes. We'll see how that's going. And then we'll turn that over or just check on it, see how it's going, and then we'll continue from there. So before we go any further, the first thing I want to let you know, or the next thing I want to let you know, is that I've put into the chat function the link for the Just Giving page. Okay, so I know many of you have already donated generously, and I thank you so much for that. If you want to donate some more, it's the same link as previously. You've obviously already donated many, many times by purchasing tickets as well. So just to let you know, I think we're just on about 18,100 and something now. So the next milestone is 20,000, and that would be awesome. When I started this, we kind of earmarked 2,500, and so this is just absolutely smashed that out of the park. So thank you so much for that. In about maybe sort of 10 minutes or so, Sarah, if I can come to you just to give us maybe a bit of an update, that would be superb. But before we do that, I'd just like to maybe go around, because we don't often get time to speak to people on these cook-alongs because it's always so busy. We have different speakers. So I'd love to just go around and say hello to a few people and just to see how you're getting on, what version you're making, what made you join this particular recipe, if it was the recipe that really interested you. So let me just go around the screen. First person I can see then, or the third person along, Eloise. Hi, how are you? Would you like to come off mute and say hi?
Yeah, I would. Hi, Raheel. So I'm here. I'm doing the cauliflower version because I'm mostly vegetarian, a kind of bad vegetarian, let's say. And it's gone well this week because I was prepared. It's my second time. Obviously, I came because my pals, Mike and Laura, we all live in northeast Scotland. I'm in Aberdeen. They're in
Okay.
and they kind of suggested, and this is through Judith and I can't remember his name. Anyway, all friends are there, so it's through friends, and yeah, and I'm really enjoying it. A good, important cause. Feel like doing something small for something that's really overwhelming. So yeah, thanks. It's great.
Oh, thank you so much for joining. And yeah, I really appreciate, well, I say that the people of Palestine would be delighted to know that people are still standing by them in solidarity and taking part and, you know, just showing just how important the cause it is to continue to support. So thank you so much for that. And then, and so did you say you're doing the vegetarian version?
Yeah, yeah.
And is it cauliflower you're using?
And I put my cauliflower on skewers. Yeah, I put my cauliflower on skewers. So, and that's
Okay.
going all right so far.
Excellent. Well, hopefully that'll go well. I can't remember, or I don't know if you're on Instagram, but if you are, I'd love to see how it looks afterwards. That'd be fantastic. Okay, great. Thank you, Eloise. Let's say hello to Gareth. How are you doing, Gareth? Are you okay? I can see Gareth Glynn's the name on my screen. Calling Gareth. Gareth, I think you're just on mute at the moment.
Right, can you hear me now, Rahid?
Ah, yes, now I can hear you. How are you doing, Gareth? You okay?
I'm very good, and like Eloise, I'm doing the cauliflower, but I didn't have any skewers, so I've just done like florets. And here we go. Judith, actually, who's also in this same kitchen, is doing the chicken version.
I know I managed to not get breast, so I'm just deboning a chicken at the moment.
All right, okay. Fantastic. So you do both versions.
But nevertheless, you know, we're excited. We're expecting a load of people to turn up. You know, otherwise we're going to be eating this for the next, 3 days. Anyway.
Whereabouts are you based?
South London.
South London. And we're friends with Mike and Laura, and our name is Gareth.
Oh, amazing. So this is the beauty of these, is that there's so many people who join who know other people who spread the word. So that's really great to hear that you know other people who do these or have done these in the past. So thank you so much for joining.
Hilarious.
Can you hear me okay still, everyone?
You're kind of breaking up a bit there, Raheel.
Apologies. Yeah. Is
I don't
now any
know.
better? Is that any better?
Yeah, the
Can you
I
hear
mean,
me
I can
now?
hear you just then. Yeah, we most of the time.
Great. Okay.
I don't know if everybody else can hear it or not. I have no idea really. It's whether it's us or you, or somewhere in between probably.
We're making the bread as well.
Great. So, thank you so much for joining. I'm just going to put you on mute for a minute, just so that I can check my volume. So, everyone, just give me a wave if you can hear me okay still. Great. Okay, so that's wonderful. That's good to know. Sometimes when there's lots of people on, it can kind of affect the connectivity a little bit, but it seems like everyone can still hear me okay, which is wonderful. I just had someone asking a question about the yogurt. So the yogurt doesn't go in the marinade. So the yogurt is part of the yogurt sauce. So I'm going to show you how to make that in a little while. Okay, so I just wanted to give everyone time just to get that marinade on the main ingredient, get it into the oven, and then we can come back and show you how to make the yogurt sauce. Okay, so no, that doesn't go into the marinade. So hopefully you haven't put it in the marinade already. That is for the sauce. Okay, great. So let's say hello to a couple more people then. So Sharon, I can see you're sitting there very chilled out. How are you, Sharon? You okay? Would like to come and say hello?
Oh, hi, Raheel. I'm Sharon. I'm from Ireland,
Hi.
and so yeah, this is my second time doing the cook along, and I'm part of the Irish Palestine Solidarity Campaign group in Ireland, and we're doing plenty of work raising awareness across our own county.
Oh, superb. Thank you so much for doing that. And I give you the prize for the most relaxed cook-alonger today. You just totally chilled. You've got everything in hand.
Yeah, everything's under control. Last time was a bit hairy, so I was prepared this time.
That's the thing. Yeah, once you've done one, then you know how much prep you need to do, so you
Yeah,
can focus on listening and doing at the same time. Amazing.
that's it.
And do you know anyone else who's joined in this evening at all, by any chance?
I'm not sure. I did give the link to a few people, but I'm not sure if they joined. We're actually in Donegal at the moment, so up in northwest Ireland at the minute. So I'm not sure who else is online.
Okay, not to it. And what's the weather like over there today?
It's absolutely gorgeous. You can sort of see the sun is coming in here. It's really fabulous today. Yeah, and we got to see the Northern Lights last night, which was amazing.
Yeah, I can see the sun streaming in, so hopefully you're enjoying that as well as the cooking. So thank you so much again for joining in today, and hopefully it's going to turn out amazing.
Yeah. And thank you for hosting it. It's an amazing cause. Thank you.
Thank you, no problem. Continue to join in, please. That would be great. And spread the word, everyone, please, as far as you can. So let's say hello to a couple more people. So let me go on to the next screen here. So not everyone's got their cameras up, which is fine. But I'll pick it. Connor, how are you doing, Connor? You okay? Can you hear me all right? Would you like to come on and say hi?
Hi, here. How are you? I'm over in Ireland as well.
Amazing. Whereabouts?
So just Drogheda, which is just north of Dublin. So I was kind of half prepared, had the ingredients out, but not much prep done. So a little bit of frantic scooping out and hoping I had the right spice in hand. So all going well. It's already in the oven, smelling pretty good.
Oh, brilliant. You're all over it then. You're right on top of it.
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see when it comes out, and I have to make the family eat it.
Yeah, that'll be the true test, won't it? And are you doing, so did he say you're doing the chicken version or the veg version or both?
Chicken version, yeah.
Chicken version, great. Are you on Instagram by any chance?
Yes. I'm trying to remember where I saw the link, so yes.
Great. So what I'm going to do is, for the benefit of everybody, I'm just going to put my Instagram handle into the chat function. As always, I love to see how people present the dishes, how it looks when it's finished. So if any of you would like to share images of that, that would be wonderful to see. But thank you, Connor, for joining in. Please continue to spread the word. I do one of these at least once a month for MAP. So yeah, please keep spreading that word. Thank you again for joining in, Connor. Okay, so yeah, I think my reception is a little bit ropey here, but hopefully people can still hear me. So yeah, just give me a wave, everyone. Can you still hear me all right? Hello, just checking. Can everyone still hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up if you can still hear me, everybody. Okay, seems like it might be a little bit iffy, but I'll persevere for now. Chris is just asking if we have leftover marinade, we save it or add it now to the chicken to the oven. So if you've got a little bit like I had left in the bottom of my bowl, when we look to turn it over, you could base some of that over and use the remaining marinade on top of your chicken or your cauliflower vegetables. If you have lots left over, then you can pop that in the fridge, put it in a container or cover it a bit of cling film, and that should be good for at least a couple of days to then use again. Jules says the group from South London was saying to get the Curly sisters from Clapham back as they were funny. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to get Nadia and Dina back on again. As you can imagine, they have a huge following and they're super busy and their calendar kind of gets booked up weeks and months in advance. So I have been trying to get them on again. So I will certainly try and do that. And rest assured, if I do or when I do, it'll be all over social media for you to find out about as well. Okay, so whilst we're just waiting for the next sort of 8 to 10 minutes for the chicken just to see how it's getting on, I'd like to just pass over to Sarah. Sarah is now, just give me a thumbs up if now's a good time. Great. So I'm going to pass over to Sarah. Now, Sarah is representing MAP and has been on, I think, all of the cook-alongs with the exception of one so far. So thank you so much for being part of this again. Before I hand over to Sarah, I will say is that just cast a quick eye over. In fact, let's just do that now. If everyone just has a quick look at the chicken or cauliflower, whatever it is that you're making, just make sure it's not burning. If it needs to be turned over, just give it a turn over. I'm going to do the same. So let's just take a minute just to do that. And obviously be careful if you're using skewers. Do make sure that you use oven gloves to turn those. Don't burn yourself, please. So I'm just going to check that as well. So let's just do that very quickly. Okay, so I don't know if you heard that, but as I took that out of the oven, there was a real sizzle. Let me just show you how that's looking. So you can see the chicken, all that oil just absolutely bubbling away. So that chicken's coming along really nicely now. What I'm going to ask you to do is to turn this over. If yours looks like this, let me just bring it a bit closer to the camera. If your chicken looks like this, where it's got a little bit gnarly, it's got a few little gnarly black bits on it, then let's give that a turn over and then we can pop it back into the oven. Okay, and then we'll have a look at the cauliflower as well. Now I'm going to do this. I'm perhaps going to use some tongs as well to do this. It might make it a little bit easier. Sorry, Sarah, just bear with me. We'll be with you shortly. This is not going to be the easiest thing to do, but let's give it a whirl. In fact, let's go do it like this. There we go. So if you just turn it over onto the other side like so, and then we'll pop that back into the oven. And then we'll just have a look at the cauliflower version as well quickly. So let's pop that back in. Okay, and this is the cauliflower version here then. So I'm going to just use those tongs to turn this one over as well. These tongs aren't the best. This one. There we go. So just give those steaks or the bits of cauliflower, just turn them over or just move them around in the pan, but try and turn them over onto the other side if you can. Just like so. There we go. And then we can pop that back into the oven and we'll check them again in a little while, okay? So there we go. Right, pop that back in. Okay, so thank you everyone for just bearing with me whilst we just had a look at that. So hopefully that's turned over now. We can leave that cooking for a little while longer. So I'm going to come to Sarah next. Then I'll show you how to make the yogurt sauce. We'll look at some of the accompaniments and salad, etc. that will go with this and sauces, and then we'll start to pull it together. But without further ado, I'll pass over to Sarah. Sarah, over to you then, please. And thank you again once more for doing this for us this evening.
Thank you, Raheel, and I hope everyone can hear me. The one cook-along I didn't do was when I broke my arm, and I'm very proud to say that today it's out of a sling, still not fully functional. So I have my sister here with me, who is my co-chef, helping me make this meal. And there's many a shawarma I have eaten, and there's a particular place in what is known as Manger Square in Bethlehem that does some of the best shawarma I've ever eaten. I would like to give a little shout out to our Irish friends who joined the call. I recently got my Irish citizenship, which makes me very proud, but I also am hugely impressed and encouraged by the support the Irish have continued to give the Palestinians for longer than most nations can say. Some of you may have heard me speak before, so apologies. I will do my best here. I'm chair of the board at Medical Aid for Palestinians. I worked and stayed in Palestine for many years, starting from 2014, which was the last major offensive, which looks sort of overshadowed now. And actually, every time I stayed in Rafah. So I'm finding it particularly challenging at the moment with the incursion that is happening in Rafah. And even knowing what I know, having worked there extensively and having the intelligence I do from being on the board at MAP, I still had this sort of naive hope that this wouldn't happen, that our leaders, our global leaders, would not allow this to happen. And I'm grateful for my naive hope until this last week. There's over 1 million people in Rafah. The estimates up until Wednesday were 1.2 to 1.5, of which they believed that 600,000 were children. Obviously, we don't know what those numbers are right now. But I can tell you that my dear friend Wasal is still in Rafah, and she cannot move because the bombing has been so intense that it's not safe to move. And she also has nowhere to go. Some of you will be hearing on the news about a place called El Mwasi, which has been deemed by the Israelis as a safe humanitarian zone. I've been there, and for clarity, it is sand dunes right next to the beach. There are hundreds of thousands of people who are in tents on those sand dunes. There is no services, there's no infrastructure, there is no sewage, there is no water. So pushing people there, it's logistically impossible. Literally, as this call started with Raheel, I got a message to say that whilst people in the south in Rafah are being told they need to move because of bombing, the people in the north are being told to move south because there's going to be incursions there. So these people are literally being pushed around. Nothing can get into Gaza and no one can get out. That changed a couple of days ago with the Rafah incursion. So again, you may have been hearing on the news about how Israel has now blocked the two entries and exits in the south of Gaza. We were so lucky. We had our 6th emergency medical team, which is made up of expert surgeons who have experience in war zones. We managed to get them out literally the morning that Israel invaded into Rafah. And we talk closely with them, and I'm sorry, I should have said at the beginning, having worked there extensively, there's always a huge pain when you're able to leave, but they're not. And so we're working with those emergency medical team members to support them with the psychosocial support that one life is worth more than another, which is sort of technically really what it boils down to. And I need to be really clear, nowhere is safe in Gaza. So what you may not be seeing on the news is that over the last 24 hours, not only are they heavily bombing Rafah, they're also bombing Khan Yunis in the middle area, and they've been heavily bombing Zaytun in the north. And from the news, as I said, that I've received directly today, as this poke along started, that it looks like the north is also being heavily bombed. So to try and tell you a bit about what we're continuing to do, if you've been on previous calls, you would have heard me talk about this already. We've now had $9 million worth of aid enter the Gaza Strip and been delivered to hospitals and to the schools that are being used as refuge for people, and the camps, the camps and tents. We've set up now, last time I spoke it was 8, we now have 12 what we call sort of pop-up medical centres. So people can go there for general health support needs. We are doing a lot of medical care for pregnant women, post and pre birth, and we're starting to really increase our work in the nutrition space of really understanding what's needed. And as there is no food getting in, the nutrition part is going to be a really long-term strategy for us in terms of what we're planning to do. El Nasser Hospital is in Khan Yunis. It was quite badly destroyed by an Israeli incursion, and we're working to reopen that hospital and to rebuild its capacity. So much of the health infrastructure is just utterly being destroyed, and pop-ups are not going to be a long-term solution. So we're working to allow that hospital to function again, and particularly in light of the fact that we were hearing that Rafah was going to be further attacked and no one can leave the north. So at least in the middle area, it means there should be a fully functioning, or as fully functioning as in a conflict zone you can have, hospital. Raheel knows I find it really hard to talk about the north of Gaza. The situation there is just beyond horrific, and I'm pretty much sure that next time it will be Rafah as things continue. But I had this amazing colleague called Mahmoud who never left the north, and he managed to get food into the north a couple of weeks ago, and so has been getting food to people, which is just phenomenal. Apologies. So in terms of the work that Matt continues to do, we continue to plan for when there is a ceasefire, inshallah, and there has to be one soon. And if there's one thing you can do, it's lobby our government for that. And we plan for when this ends to rebuild the healthcare system. We know already that our programs are going to have to change and really focus not on what we've already been doing for the 40 years we've been there, and we don't leave, and our staff are all local. But we're really going to have to focus on nutrition and mental health as well, and really build that up. In terms of what you can do, that is really continue to advocate for Palestinians, and let's do it peacefully, right? Like, let's be on the good side of this. Yeah, continue to advocate. If you follow Medical Aid for Palestinians online, our advocacy team make it really easy. They give you templates. You basically just click a button and it emails your local MP. So it takes you like about a minute. You don't have to think about it unless you want to think about it and add your own thoughts, which I sometimes do. But it's a very easy way to continue to advocate. And that international pressure is not having the impact one would hope, but it is having an impact. It's to continue to join the peaceful protests, and it's to continue to donate, because the more income we have, the more we can future plan, and the more we can strategize and really focus on where
Oh, thank you, Sarah, so much for doing that. I think for those of you who have heard Sarah speak before, or if you're hearing her speak for the first time, you can appreciate just how hard it is to give an update on things like that. Especially, it's hard enough for us to see and hear about things that are happening, but Sarah knows people there on the ground living this horror, and gets live updates, and I'm sure is privy to images and information that many of us don't even get to hear about. So when she speaks, it's always insightful, inspiring, upsetting, all in equal measures. So many different emotions coming out of that when you talk about people who you know out there and what's happening. But I think it's just really encouraging to know that there is still a lot happening in terms of what Medicaid for Palestinians is doing, the resources that they're being able to deploy there, and hopefully the plan for the future, a clear route map in terms of what this will look like. And this will come to an end. This horror will come to an end at some point. And when it does, inshallah, we can then help the people of Palestine with the funds that are coming through, and hopefully, you know, make it as easy as possible if the global community eventually does come together, and really make sure we can do everything in our power to make the future for the Palestinians as best as it possibly can be. So thank you again, Sarah, so much for that.
I'm so sorry, because I got upset, I forgot to thank people, and I really feel that's so important. And you know, you've led us on this path, and I am so grateful. I know how much people enjoy your cook-alongs, because I see when I sign up, like how many people come back. So thank you to you, but thank you to all of you. And it's not just about the donations. There's something really comforting about the solidarity and knowing that other people care too, and you're not alone. But I am going to just go off camera for a few minutes.
Oh, thank you. Bless you. No, you're absolutely right. Thank you for your kind words. But more important than anything here is that people continue to support the cause, continue to raise awareness and talk about what's happening and educate other people and all of that good stuff. And the richness in the support we can provide is in talking to more people, educating more people about what's gone on before, what's happening now. So again, thank you so much. As I said, this is being recorded, so when it goes on YouTube, if you were busy doing some other bits, and I'm not suggesting you were ignoring what Sarah was saying, but obviously there's lots of things happening, so it might be easier for you to replay that and hear that again, which is another reason why I like to put it onto the YouTube channel. That's Raheel's Meals. Again, if you just go to that, I'll send an email afterwards anyway through the Eventbrite platform, so you can see the link to the YouTube video, and you can watch that and share that as well. So thank you again, Sarah. So the next cook along we'll do for Matt will, I'm earmarking sort of mid-June, something like that. I'm always looking to get people to join in from different backgrounds. Obviously, someone already mentioned the Curly Cooks of Croydon. We've had Jeremy Corbyn do one of the very first ones with Ben Jamal from Palestine Solidarity Campaign. We had Layla Ruas co-hosting one of our sessions. We had Alexi Sale. For those of you who haven't done them right from the beginning, we've had lots of people taking part in these cook-alongs. And of course, last time we had the wonderful Sami Tamimi, which is a real coup, who showed us how to make a dish with koftas and aubergines. It was superb. So yeah, if any of you, by the way, have got any contacts with people who want to be part of this, want to maybe even co-host or show us how to make a dish themselves, it doesn't always have to be me doing the cooking and instructing. It can be other people. It's a real community I'm trying to build, and getting other people to bring other ideas to the table too. I'm learning as much as everyone else through doing things like this. So thank you again. So what I'm going to just say now is let's just check again on what's going on in the oven. So regardless of whether you're doing the chicken or the cauliflower, just have a little look into the oven, make sure everything's still okay, nothing's burning, it's not too smoking hot. Chris was just asking about the temperature, so if it does look like it's smoking quite a bit in there, just drop the temperature by 20 to 30 degrees, and just keep an eye on it that nothing's burning. If you need to use some of the juices to baste over the top, again, do that. If you need to turn over the cauliflowers, florets or steaks, or the chicken, then do that. So let's just spend a few seconds just doing that now. So just for the benefit of everybody, the chicken's still going nicely, so I've just left that in there. I'm just taking out the cauliflower here. A good way to just check when the cauliflower's done, if you just take a sharp knife and just insert the tip into like the thicker part, which it tends to be the stalk where that's been cut. If it passes through easily, and then it's cooked. If it's got a little bit of resistance like this has at the moment, then it needs a little while longer. Some of these other florets are coming along really nicely as well. So I reckon from my perspective, the cauliflower has perhaps another 10 minutes max to go on that. So I'm going to pop that back in. The chicken continued to cook as well. We'll give that a little while longer too. So whilst that's doing its thing then, let me show you how to make the yogurt sauce then, okay? So if you just grab another bowl, a mixing bowl or a small bowl like the one I'm showing you there, the first thing we like to do is to pop into there 1 cup of plain natural yogurt. So that's approximately 230 grams, 16 tablespoons, whatever you want to call it. But you don't need to be that precise, so don't worry about it, you know. Just get a good quantity that you think will be suitable for the number of people you're making it for. So I'm going to go in with, well, about a cup's worth. So let's do that. Okay, so that's the yogurt in there. And just really following the recipe then, so into that yogurt then, I'm going to add 1 garlic clove, which I've got just very finely chopped or crushed or minced, however you want to do that, whatever's easiest. And again, I'll recap all of this as well. It's really easy to make this. We need 1 teaspoon of cumin powder. Okay. You can be quite generous with the cumin. I love cumin as a flavour. So if you want to go a teaspoon, that's absolutely fine. A bit of salt and pepper to season. So just for seasoning, really. So we don't need a lot. Like so. And then finally, just a squeeze and a bit of lemon juice. Just to bring that all together nicely and to balance all the flavors. So there we go. Just remove that tip and let's slip through. That. And then just give that a really good stir. And that's it. That's as easy as that is. Now, that's just one version of this. If you want to do, if you want to add a bit of paprika, you can add that. If you want to add a bit of coriander powder, you could add that in there. A bit of cayenne. Whatever flavors you enjoy, so you can really just make it your own. This is when you can be a little bit more experimental and, you know, use what you like really. But that's the version that I put on the recipe list, so that's the one we'll do. So there you have it. It's as easy as that really. I'm going to show you how to bring everything together afterwards. So that's that. Let's put that to one side. Now let's talk a little bit about the flatbreads that we're going to use. So I bought these from like a local Turkish store. So they're like flatbreads that you might see kind of like a takeaway or something, really nice, large flatbreads. They're quite thin. These are okay to eat like this because they're already cooked, but I feel like it's always nice to warm them through a little bit. Ideally, just wet them with a tiny little bit of water. And you can do them on like a large frying pan or like a griddle pan, or you can pop them in the oven just for a few seconds whilst they're towards the end of cooking. Don't cook them too long because otherwise they'll go really hard and crispy. So we want them to keep their, you know, softness a little bit as well. So they're the naans we're going to use. And then here I've just got cut up nicely all the other bits of salad and accompaniments we're going to use. So I've got the lettuce leaves, which I've washed thoroughly, and they're just whole. We'll pop those in. And then on this tray here, we've got some sliced tomato slices. We've got some cucumber slices, some red onion, some of these long sort of chili peppers. So there's a few extra bits on here that weren't on the list, but mainly it was the lettuce, the tomato, and the cucumber. But you can add any other salad that you like. So if you want to use sliced pepper, you could put that in there. I've got some lemon wedges on the side so people can, you know, adjust the seasoning a little bit with the citrus if they wish. So that's the salad. And then we've also got a few other bits here. So I've got this this brand, Sofra tahini sauce. So that's just straight out of a bottle, to be honest. You can get it in a jar as well if you wish to use that. I've got some grated mozzarella or cheese. So if you want to use cheddar, whatever it is, if you like cheese, not all of my family has cheese, so not everyone will probably use that. But if you want to add in cheese, you can do. And then we've got some a hot sauce of your choice. So this is one I picked up from a food market not so long ago, and it's a really nice one. I'm not even sure it's widely available, but if you want to use like a hot sriracha sauce or an Encona type sauce, then that's also nice to add in there. So these are all the bits really to finish off at the end. And always experiment with different things. So I actually came across this today, which are pickled cayenne peppers. I've never tried those before. So I'm going to pop those in, see how they taste. You could use olives if you wish. That would also be nice. So let's just find out what other salad people are going to be using this evening. So if you want to type it into the chat function, what's going to be your salad of choice to go with your wrap today when we finished? Siobhan's saying, would sumac work? Sumac would be beautiful for the yogurt. I'm presuming you're saying there, Siobhan. Yeah, that would be great. In fact, do you want to come on and say hi, Siobhan? Whereabouts are you? Can't see you on the screen.
Hello.
Hey, there you are. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, by the way?
Yeah.
Excellent. And whereabouts?
I don't have the beautiful Irish. I am in North Devon in the UK.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And is this the first one you're doing?
No, I think it's my 4th or 5th, I think.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming along on the journey.
Slight issues with tech last time, but I made it without the Zoom. Fine.
Right,
Yeah,
okay. And are you just cooking for yourself this evening, or have you got a few people over?
No, we have got a multi-generational house, so there's 7 of us eating. So I'm doing cauliflower and chicken.
Oh, well, you'll have to do a straw poll and let me know which one comes out the tastiest. If you
Cool.
eat, you don't, obviously you can't do that then. But yeah,
Yeah.
let me know what goes down the treat out of the two.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. And yes, to answer your question, yeah, sumac would work great. I presume we went with the yogurt sauce. Yes, it will go really nicely.
It tastes lovely with the sumac in it.
Oh, amazing. Thank you, Siobhan. So I can see so a few people saying can't make the food tonight, but I'm going to make it soon. I plan on adding lime, marinated, and sumac cabbage. That sounds wonderful. Giovanna says also not cooking tonight, but as a hot sauce, I would add homemade shatter. Yeah, actually, Sammy Tamimi was mentioning that last time, and I've still not got hold of that. I need to try that. It sounds superb. Melissa's saying red cabbage, mint, and parsley leaves, white onion, shatter. Again, not sure how to spell that. Palestinian chili sauce, and maybe za'atar. Yeah, that would also be superb. So yeah, some really good ideas there. Yeah, Melissa's just flashing that jar up at the screen, showing us what that looks like. Chicken out of the oven now, 30 minutes already. Yeah, absolutely, Chris, great shout. So should we check that? Good prompt for me. So let's get that chicken out of the oven. Let's see how that's going on. So I'm just going to put the camera down here again. Let's just grab that out. Can you hear that sizzle, by the way, everybody? I don't know if you can, you might not be able to, but you can certainly see it. You can see that oil, that some of that oil that we put over the top in the marinade, some of the juices that will have come out. So the way to check whether the chicken's done, the easiest way, is probably to get a couple of forks and just go to like a really chunky part and just try to open and just see if that chicken is cooked. Now you'll know when it's cooked when there's no pink in the middle and it's just white throughout. So actually that looks pretty good to me. You can see there, I don't know if you can see that very clearly, but let me just take a little piece out. So as you see that piece there, so that's nice and white, it's opaque. So there's no pink in that, but you do want to check it right at the thickest part just to make sure that it's fully cooked through. So I'm pretty sure that looks like it's cooked to me. Yeah, that looks really nicely cooked. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave that there now to rest. Okay. I'm also going to take out the cauliflower, he says, with not enough trivets. So let's put that down there. Going to grab the cauliflower out. So with the cauliflower, remember what we said. So if you just take a sharp knife, just insert it into the thicker part of the stalk. So that looks like it's cooked to me for sure. Now, obviously, it depends on how thick you've cut your steak as to whether that's fully cooked or not. Let's just turn that over, see how that's looking. You know what? That feels like it actually might need another minute or two. That might need a few more minutes. I'm going to pop the cauliflower back in. So for those of you doing cauliflower, do just check that, because sometimes people assume that veggies are going to cook quicker or at the same time as the meat, but that's not the case always. So that's the chicken. Now we're going to leave this to rest. Obviously, if you are using skewers, I can't stress enough that you mustn't touch those without any oven gloves on, right? It's easy just to grab them without thinking. They'll be piping hot. So please be careful. Use a cloth, ideally some oven gloves. And then what you want to do, and I'll show you in a minute, is just to kind of, if you're using skewers, just to stand them up on their, like on the ends, and then just use a knife, just like you might see at a kebab shop, quite frankly, and just cut it down and shear some pieces off and pop that into the naan bread, which I'll show you. Alternatively, if you've not used the skewers, like I did, you can just use a couple of forks and just shred the chicken like that into little pieces. It doesn't have to be tiny pieces, but smaller chunks. And then you can put that into the naan bread as well. So I'm just going to leave that to rest a few more minutes, or a few more seconds, certainly. So for those of you who have taken yours out of the oven, regardless of whether that's the chicken or the cauliflower, I'd love to see how that's looking. So if you can direct your camera onto there without, as I say, dropping the camera into the dish or anything like that, that would be amazing to see how that's looking. You should be able to taste that marinade as well now, and it should taste superb. So Eloise, that's looking great. That looks like it's got a really nice color on it. Great job. Muga, I can see yours as well. That chicken looks superb. Thank you. Looks great. Who else have we got on here? Who else is showing off their dishes? Richard and Joe showing us inside the oven. I can't quite make out what's going on there, but I'm sure it looks great. Yeah, Sarah, be careful. Don't want that falling. But yeah, that looks superb as well. Great job. Well done for showing us without dropping it everywhere. Okay, so, and I'm guessing some of you are probably still waiting for it to finish off cooking, so that's fine. Don't want you to take it out just for the purpose of showing us. But thank you. Let me just come around and say hello to a couple more people whilst we just wait for that chicken to rest, and then we'll get that served up. Pat and Phil, do you want to come on and say hi? That's looking great, by the way.
Hi.
Hello. How are you both doing? You okay?
Yeah,
Yes,
fine, thanks.
thank
Yeah,
you.
really enjoying it as always. Done quite a few of these with you now since the start of lockdown. So
absolutely, yeah, regulars from way back before we did this.
good,
So
good,
really
good to see you again.
And it looks like you've got the chicken skewered like me. That looks great.
Yeah. Seems to be holding together okay. Time will tell.
Good. Have you got all the other bits ready then? You got the yogurt sauce, the salad chopped? Is everything kind of looking good?
Yeah,
Halfway on the salad.
Pretty much there. Yeah, I've just been out to the garden to get the salad leaves, and so we've just got to chop them up, and then we'll be done, I think.
Mate, sounds
so
great.
Great cause, and thanks for organising it.
Oh no, thank you for joining. It's not an event without you all taking part and joining in. So thank you for continuing to support. And I know you've done the cook-alongs way before we started doing these for Palestine. But oh, the cat's just come in from outside. Please go away. This is a neighbour's cat who's just come in from outside with the door. I think trying to get some food. Yeah, no, thank you again for supporting the cause. As I say, it's not an event, and it's not successful without everyone taking part. So thank you so much again. Really.
Yeah, it's so sad that it's needed, but it shouldn't be needed, but it clearly is at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely, and unfortunately, for a while after as well. So continue to support, the better. As we all heard Sarah saying and telling us, giving us the insight. Then yeah,
that was very moving.
It's so tragic.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on and saying some words and for taking part again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks to you.
Thanks for
Yeah.
hosting it.
Thank you. And I was just going to make a point actually earlier when Sarah was talking, she was saying, telling us about the bombing, that it's not just happening in Rafah, but it's happening in other parts of Gaza as well. And it just goes to show the kind of deception and the deflection that the news, Western media can portray at times, you know, just focusing on one area, taking attention away from others, just to let people, the Israelis, do whatever they want to do there. So it's really important we get that insight from people like Sarah and her team on the ground. So thank you again, Sarah, for that. Okay, so let's start pulling this together, shall we, everybody? So I'm going to put the camera down onto the counter here. I'm going to start. In fact, first thing I'm going to do, I'll take the cauliflower out of the oven before I forget that. So let me just do that quickly. Okay, so that's looking a lot nicer now. That cauliflower looks superb now. That's done. So first things first, then, we want to get this chicken nicely shredded. So I'm just going to lift this up from one side. And like so. It's not the easiest thing to do, so just be careful. Okay, so as I was saying, if you just lift it up on its side like that, and then just using a sharp knife, you just start to cut away on the side, and you'll start to get some chunks off like this. If you want to, as I say, tear it with a fork, you can do it like that, whichever way you find easier. Just obviously be super careful. And you can see how by skewering it, if you haven't managed to skewer it this time around, by doing it that way, it gives you a really good way of just cutting it nicely. And it's actually quite theatrical as well when you do it like that. And then I've cut it into the tray. The reason I've done that is I'm using some of those juices that are in the bottom of the tray just to kind of moisten and baste those pieces of chicken further. All right. So that's another top tip for you to make sure that you retain as much of that flavor as possible. Right. So that's enough chicken there. So I'm going to move this out of the way. If I can find another circle, I'll put it on. Just bear with me. Like a jigsaw puzzle here. Okay. Right. Let me just move that over here. Nearly got them up. Okay, so first things first then. So let's just take that bit of bread. Now, just for the purpose of making this really simple, I'm just going to pop this in the microwave, literally, just for 20 seconds, just to make this bit easier and quicker. So let me just quickly do that, just to soften that bread a little bit. Okay, so here we go. So we've got our wrap first of all. So first things first, let's layer it up with some salad. I'm going to use a couple of lettuce leaves first of all, like so. I'll just spotlight this actually so you can see it a little bit. Just bear with me. Is that clearer, everybody? Is that now bigger on your screen? Hopefully you can see that okay. So some lettuce. I'm going to lay down some tomato, like so. Some cucumber. Some red onion. And some of those green chilies, like so. I'm going to then just use a bit of lemon, just to sort of season that a little bit. There we go. So that's the salad. Next thing, I'm going to get some of that chicken and pop that in the middle of there. So just bear with me whilst I go and grab the chicken. So there you go, look, so I've lined up a row of chicken along the bottom there. Now you can do the same, obviously, if you're using cauliflower, do exactly the same, some little florets, or maybe cut that steak up into a few pieces so that you can roll it up afterwards. We're going to get some of that tahini sauce on there. Some of that hot chili sauce. Just be careful you don't go with too much of that, depending on how hot you like your food. Right, so you've obviously got your yogurt sauce as well, which is going to go over the top. Okay. And then if you're going to use some cheese, you can pop the cheese in there. I'm not going to because not everyone has cheese here. I've also got a few coriander leaves. Again, that wasn't on the list, but we love coriander, so I'm going to pop that on there as well. And then now we're going to roll it. Now, this is the bit where I'm likely to make a hash, but let's give it a whirl. So the best way to do this is bring it in from the sides, first of all, like so. And then roll it over like that. And then another roll, and then you want to kind of push everything in. It's where it gets a bit messy. Push everything in and roll it once more over like so. And then just give it a bit of a squeeze to get it all together, and then just keep it held down. And then grab that knife, and you can just cut it either on an angle or however you wish. Like so. And you should have a wrap that with a cross section looks something like that. Ooh, that looks nice. I'll have some of that, thank you. Okay, so there you go. So there's your chicken shawarma. I'm going to send that in to the family, first of all, so they can have it nice and hot. So just bear with me whilst I just pass this through the hatch, as it were. Just give me a couple of seconds. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Yeah, I put sound on this one. Okay. I'll just remove the spotlight off here. Actually, it's all right. So there we go. So that's it, everyone. That's your hopefully your chicken shawarma wrap done. Now let me just remove the spotlight from me. And before we go, I'd love to see if people have managed to wrap one up already and done it that quickly. I'd love to see how it's looking. If anyone's got anything that can show us right now, or are we still waiting? Let's have a little look. Ah, Melissa, I think I could. That looks great. Fantastic. Really good job. Anyone else? And again, if you let me know how it tastes, you can pop in the chat function. That would be wonderful. It's finished. I've eaten it. Great. That's always a good sign. Thank you. Right. So that looks so delicious. Thank you, Carly. So look, that brings us to the end of this cook along. Oh, yum. Siobhan likes it as well. That's the cauliflower. So we've got a thumbs up all around. So just before we finish up, I just want to say a big thank you to Sarah once more for coming on and sharing those insights with us. It's never easy to do. I can't imagine how hard that is. So thank you so much again, Sarah, for doing that. Thank you to all of you, no matter where you are in the country, the world, for taking part, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening. Then thank you for joining in. Thank you for supporting the cause. For those of you who donated previously or donating again, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll give an update in terms of where we are over the next couple of days. I'll get this video uploaded and let you know when that's happened. And then please keep a lookout for the next one, hopefully June, mid-June time. And please let's spread the word as far as we can. If each one of us can get another 5, 10 people joining, groups you might be part of, work colleagues, anything like that, the more the merrier. There's really no limit. So please do spread that word. Thank you again. If you want to come off mute and wave and say goodbye, then I'd love to hear that. But thank you so much and all the best. Enjoy your food.
No, we're not moving anymore. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.
Bye.
See you next time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Bye-bye.